Welcome.
Do you know who I am?
Who the hell are you?
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
Just what is it that you want to do?
We want to get loaded, and we want to have a good time.
Okay, let's party.
Let me talk to you.
I'm building an alliance.
Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome!
All right, listen up.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Now here's the other Alliance guys, Tim, Jeremy, and Dave.
Good afternoon, one and all. How are we doing today? I am Championship Wrestling from Jeremy. Joining me today is Dave Scooby. As the title says, ladies and gentlemen, Timmy Thunder has left the building. This is not a joke. Timmy Thunder has gone on hiatus for the foreseeable future. We wish him well on all of his future endeavors, and he's welcome back whenever he wants.
Definitely.
But other than that, how are you doing today, Dave Scooby?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to this St. Patrick's Day weekend. Bunch of green beer and a bunch of rookie drinkers. So we'll see what happens.
Sounds good. We've got Media Mike in the chat. Willie Bowen is here. The boss is in the chat. Hello, everyone. And let's see. Willie has the joke, Tyrus joke of the day. If there's a reboot of Fantasy Island, Rolando Freeman can play Tattoo, and Tyrus can play the island. And I nominate Aaron Stevens for Ricardo Montalban's role. I can't remember the dude's name on the show, but
yeah.
Let's see here. Starting out, we've got some sad news Jake Cal touched on yesterday. If I remember correctly, Damien Sace is still in the hospital, recovering from a pretty severe heart attack from what we understand. Sending our well wishes that way. Let's see. We've got Steve G's in the chat. Hello, Steve G. And then we also, let's see, let me get it pulled up real quick. Not Tyrus. Damn it, Willie. Thrillbilly, Silas Mason. It was posted online that his house burned down. And they have set up a GoFundMe for that. I thought I had that bookmarked, but for some reason I didn't. Oh, there we go. Let's see here. Help Silas Mason recover from his home burning on GoFundMe. Let's see here. Let's see if I can't get this. I'll try and get the link posted in the chat.
All right. And also this past weekend, I don't believe they filmed it. They may have. It's touch and go as to whether they filmed the Chicago NWA show, but I don't know. I mean, in my eyes, anytime you have a talent that is with the NWA or has been featured with them on TV or on Power or any of their old pay-per-views, highlight them. If they're not going to be shown on the CW, use your channel to highlight them. And since NWA Chicago is one of the quote-unquote new territories, I mean, just like JCP does, and I'm sure Exodus Pro will put out some matches. you can just do a 45-second to a minute highlight, but give us something. If it's not going to be on the power episodes, give us something. That's just my opinion. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but any and all NWA talent, highlight them. Like coming up in just over a week, they'll start heading to Philly. That I was there this morning and they're already setting stuff up, and we're just about 2 weeks out, just under 2 weeks. But I'll be talking about some fantasy booking, but NWA doesn't have a lot of presence. And at WrestleMania, any and all wrestling organizations put on great shows. So if you're not going to highlight yourself as a promotion, I'd push that, hey, our talent is going to be there. If you're there, check them out. But who knows? There's word that Minneapolis is 41, WrestleMania 41, and we'll see if Billy decides to pull the plug on NWA doing anything outside of what they're doing with their territories and their tapings, or if he chooses to join in and see what the response is at a WrestleMania. But I'll talk about that in the fantasy booking coming up a little later on.
Yesterday during the pre-party, the topic came up of the NWA and their advertising and their reach and stuff. And the thought came to me, and I made the comment in the chat that the NWA needs to promote like an OnlyFans model.
Yep.
And what I meant by that was that there's certain keywords and phrases and stuff in the algorithms that trigger what we see on our timelines and such.
Yep.
And also in what you tweet, there are keywords and phrases that trigger responses from bots, specifically like OnlyFans models and stuff. And you'll see them buried in the chat or in the comments. And it's come to it'll just be a click my OnlyFans link or something like that. And that's all that the tweet consists of. Or you'll have just some random person follow you and you click on the profile and it's an OnlyFans model. The NWA needs to advertise like that. They just need to throw themselves into random wrestling comments. They need to just randomly follow people that are in the wrestling sphere, and I think it would work a little bit.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree with it a lot. It's one of these things that there's people out there that all they do is wrestling. And if you can hook up with them and get on their good side and have a decent show that they're willing to talk about, even if it's 5 minutes. I mean, if Wrestling Days, who does tons and tons of programming for WWE, and he does live reaction, he does watch-alongs and all that. Back in the day, he would include some things that were happening in the NWA. And it's one of those things that if you can hitch your wagon onto some of these people that love to promote what they love, and you fall in that category, it's a win-win. You're not having to pay them anything. You're just you give them some promotion, they give you some promotion. It's basically scratching each other's back.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things of I was looking and I had to look pretty hard on X to see who was actually going to be at WrestleMania week, who's going to be in Philly. And Colby Carino is going to be in Jersey and Philly, and he's wrestling 4 or 5 times that week. So it's one of those things that if you're a Colby fan, he's going to be there. So it's one of those things that if people recognize him from the NWA, or he even mentions, hey, I'm NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion, blah, blah, blah. You can catch me on Power on the CW. If they're a fan of that wrestler, they may follow and maybe watch the program to see what's up. So getting eyes on you outside of your promotion to bring into the promotion, it's a win-win. Yeah. But there hasn't been a lot of promotion I've seen, whether it be the NWA. There's only a few people that I've been able to find that are going to be in Philly wrestling WrestleMania week. So it's one of those things. You have to promote. And when you think you've promoted too much, keep promoting. Yeah. Because as soon as you get sick of promoting, that's when that person sees it for the very first time. And if it keeps hitting them at a certain time and they keep seeing mentions of certain wrestlers or organizations, they may go, hey, I like this guy, or I like this girl. I like this tag team. Maybe I should check this out. Oh, OVW, what are they doing? Why is one of their champions? Oh, one of their champions is in the NWA and he's the NWA champion. Oh, cool. Now I have 2 stories and 2 different wrestling organizations I can follow. And you see if there's crossover. It's one of those things that you just have to step out there and just do it. Like I said, as soon as you think it's too much, that's when they're seeing it for the first time. That there's things that can be put out there and people don't realize it. It takes 3 to 5 weeks for you to make something a habit. That once you start watching something and, oh, I enjoy this show, you may go back and watch old episodes to catch up on what it is, or if it's a new show or a new series, you may binge watch it. That's the one good thing about the CW, that it's not a bingeable product for the NWA, but it's one of those things that you can go back and see previous seasons and it may catch you up on what's happening now. So just got to keep promoting. And I mean, I do it with the show. I promote all 3 of our shows. And as much as I think, man, people must be sick of it, there's people that finally say, oh, I may check out Jay. I may check out the OGs on Thursday. Let's see what they're talking about. Yeah. Let's see what DKM is yelling at.
Clouds.
And I mean, it's one of these things. I may jokingly say, oh, he's yelling at clouds, but 9 times out of 10, DKM has a point, and he's made me think on several different things. So it's one of those things of just, we may be small as a group, but we're mighty.
Yeah.
Just help grow the show however you can. And if you guys have any ideas that you'd like to see Jeremy and I do going forward, just let us know. It doesn't mean that we won't, or it doesn't mean that we will, but I'm always up for doing something different.
Oh, definitely. And just leave it in the chat, leave it in the comments. Our comments are always open. If you got something that we do that you don't care for, let us know. You know, we are clay here. We are easily malleable. So But I want to take a moment and shout out some people that have hopped in since we've been talking. We got Rosville in the chat. Hello. And Matthew Underwood and Nubenco TV. Welcome, everyone. And I see we got 16 people watching right now. Thank you all for watching. We're live currently on Twitch, Twitter, and the YouTube. So what else was it we had to talk about this week? Did we have some MLW we were going to talk about?
Yes. They have a upcoming show on Saturday. It's Once Upon a Time in New York. It's going to be Saturday night at 10 o'clock on YouTube. There's also in a couple weeks, War Chamber returns, and it's going to be in the Tampa Bay area, and it'll be on Friday, March 29th. You can watch that on BN or Triller as well. But the Once Upon a Time in New York, it'll be a free show on YouTube. Matt Riddle is going against Davey Boy Smith Jr. Cozy Max, which is Akamura and Kojima, along with Alex Kane, are going up against the WTF superstars, Tom Lawler, Josh Bishop, and Richard Holiday. Azteca Lucha is going to have a State of the Union address with Cesar Duran. Him and Selena are going back and forth with their luchadors. So we'll see what happens with that. AJ Francis, formerly Top Dollar, he's going against Mr. Thomas from the Bumaye Fight Club. And Magnus and Star Jr., a couple luchadors, will be fighting. And let's see, in the women's division, Zeta is going against Delmi Exo, and there's going to be a six-man scramble with Ichiban, Love Doug, Brett Ryan Gosling, Marcus Mathers, Cannonball, and Dylan McKay. Quite a few young bucks there. And it also says Bad Dude Tito will be in action, and he has been signed for future MLW shows, which I'm very glad about. Anytime I can see that guy in action, it'll be a great show. But let's see here. I believe that's all with the upcoming show. It's Once Upon a Time in New York. That'll be Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. And then in a couple weeks on Friday, the 29th of March in the Tampa Bay area is War Chamber. And that's going to be a quite insane show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Matt Riddle, Davey Boy Smith Junior match. That'll be a nice styles clash right there.
Oh yeah.
The Cozy Max and Alex Kane versus the World Titan Federation. Man, if I didn't keep my fingernails trimmed, I'd be chewing on them in anticipation for that one. That one has me. First of all, Kojima. I love that dude, and he's an MLW original. So to see him back in and still performing at such a high level is fun, and to know that he's teaming up with the leader, the head of the Bumaye Fight Club, and they're going to take on Saint Laurent's group. That's going to be a banger of a match. Even if it is a six-way match, that's still going to be a hell of a match.
And I don't know if you saw, but what MLW does, they'll post interviews and backstage happenings and WTF jumped the champion and walked away with the belt. So they're possibly threatening to melt the belt down and make their own belt. So I'm not sure what's really happening. But what I do like is what Court is doing with MLW, that he's mixing everybody together. Storylines are intertwining. And when need be, they step off on their own. But it's one of these things that, to me, it makes sense. That if you're at one of the tapings or one of the events, you don't know what the whole plan is. You're just seeing the matches and maybe some interviews. But once it's put out as a program to watch, it does make sense. So it's one of these things. I'll be missing going to MLW shows, but I think I'll enjoy it even more watching the highlights and watching their specials on YouTube. So I'm looking forward to what happens at War Chamber, which is basically their version of War Games, that they'll have 4 or 5 matches be in the chamber, and then they may have 1 or 2 that just take place before they put the chamber up. But it's one of those things that there's either no outside interference or you can't run away. The story has to be told in the ring, and there either has to be a winner or there has to be some decision made within the War Chamber. So I'm looking forward to that at the end of the month.
Yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to the entire event, and I think it's going to be. I think they're going to knock it out of the park. And like you said, with what Court's doing with everyone and making sure that they're all getting mixed in there and mixing it up and everything, they're just firing on all cylinders right now, I feel.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of firing on all cylinders, did you get a chance to watch Sacrifice this weekend with TNA?
No, I did not. I ended up having to work Saturday night, and we didn't get to shut down early due to the time change. We basically had to stay open until 3:00. So,
oh man, now
even though they bounced ahead, we still had to stay there. So,
yeah, I know that the live broadcast apparently had some technical issues in the first 3 matches. Got kind of butchered up, and the quality on them whenever they were playing wasn't too great. But if I remember correctly, the opening match was Steve Macklin and Nick Nemeth, better known as Dolph Ziggler. And what Ziggler's doing right now is it's very much in the vein of, he's following suit of Matt Cardona a lot. He's popping up pretty much anywhere he can, just like Dalla. Dalla's doing the exact same thing, popping up.
Yep.
Whoever will take him. You know, if you got a buck, I'll be there. You know, you got a ring and a dollar, I'll be there. Type of deal. I'm sure it's more than a dollar, but
yeah, just got to make your presence known, and if you hook up and are able to do 2 or 3 different promotions and work with them, and it's a good thing for the promotions to be able to bring in somebody from the outside that may pop and bring in some new eyes to their product. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's already talk of they may want to bring Top Dollar back, so who knows?
Yeah. I wasn't too big of a fan of his, and whenever he was in WWE, and I'm still not like a fan of him per se, but he's been in situations now to where I've gotten to listen to him talk a lot more, and it's just him cutting the promos.
Yep.
And he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's not bad at all.
He does have a gift of gab, plus he does the the rapping and just his phrasing,
Yeah.
where he'll do a little rap and do a little rhyme here and there, and it's like, okay, then he'll stop and he'll readjust, and then just keep on going. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, he was never one of the better wrestlers, but I mean, you can't overlook a guy that can talk,
Right.
and a guy with his size in the ring.
Right. And at the end of the day, it regardless of how you feel about it in the United States and pretty much the world, WWE is the bar for what constitutes a quote unquote real professional sports entertainer wrestler. And he made it there, and he made it onto the main card. He got past NXT and all that.
Yep.
So the guy had something, and he's getting a chance to show that now as well. And again, I'm not a fan of him, but I am a fan of talents being able to get out there and make a living doing what they want to be doing instead of grinding away at a 9 to 5. So wherever he can pop up, more power to him. And I'm enjoying the program that they've got him working with Joe Hendry right now. So I'm looking forward to see what they've got, what's going to happen moving forward with that. So much so that I bumped up my YouTube subscription from the 99 cents a month to the $4.99 plan, just so I could watch the Sacrifice pay-per-view on there this past weekend.
Cool.
I'm enjoying what TNA's got going on right now, so that's a good thing. And speaking of TNA, and this goes back to the Thrillbilly GoFundMe, that the link for that is the pinned tweet on my Twitter page at HJWOTS. And Scott Demore was one of the donators on there. Has donated $1,500.
Wow.
So he's a good man, and anything you can do to help, reach out. Choco Elise, like a Choco Taco. Choco Elise. I don't think that we've seen your name pop up before, but welcome. Hello. Let's see. What else did we have to talk about today?
Let's see here. Well, are you wanting to talk about any championship wrestling, whether it be Derby City, Memphis, or championship wrestling over in Hollywood?
Oh yeah, we can definitely talk. We can definitely touch on the UWN. They had another great show this past weekend. Derby City will be coming back very soon. Over on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, presented by CarShield, just Championship Wrestling, I believe now.
Yeah.
Had a great show. Started out with man that Daniel Hill talked to us about, Buck Skinner, and
that was an impressive, quick match, but it didn't seem like it was a squash match. It allowed both he and his opponent to work a little, but size just won.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love that match.
It was still a very dominant win, but there was just that hint of offense this time, just that hint of somebody kicked out, So we're getting to see things here and there, and I'm right there with you. That was the match of the show for me. I know it was quick and there was not much to it at all, but good God, the way that they're painting this man to look, I'm intrigued. I'm fully vested to see just how far they take him in this
So,
introduction.
so Jeremy, would you be interested in a certain Darth Watts showing up and have a battle of the giants?
Oh my God! I'm going to tell you right now, if Watts, if Watts, if he just showed back up and they just had a stare down,
Yep.
I'd probably have to clean the sheets.
Well, I mean, you could have a stare down, and that could work into something that happens 6 months from now. But it's just one of those things of, oh, I was just back visiting some friends. You think just because you're my size, you can do what I did? And then just slap him on the back and Watts walks away.
Oh wow. Yeah. That would be amazing. Just having Watts back in championship wrestling, that would be mind blowing for me, and I could probably die a happy man that day, But to see him and Buck Skinner go face to face, take all my money. Just take it all. I'll cash out 401ks. I'll start selling. I'll start liquidating assets. Yeah, I'd be fully vested in that. Let's see here. Eli Drake gave my son a wristband at Sunday's WWE house show, so it's not all bad. And no, it's not, Matthew. I am a wrestling fan for the most part. There's not much that I don't watch. I watch Raw every week. I watch SmackDown every week. I watch every premium live event that they put on that I'm able to watch. I grew up watching that and NWA, WCCW, and Memphis Wrestling and all that, and I'll watch all of it till the day I die. Let's see here. Steve G says, WWE is totally becoming Groundhog Day, too predictable. Enough of the bloodline needs to end. I was getting there with the bloodline storyline, and then they introduced The Rock into it, and then the internet wrestling community got a hold of it and made it intriguing again for me.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how this ends up playing out and where they go with Rock on it. That's just good stuff. I feel. And let's see.
I'm not sure where it was. I know I saw it online. It may have been on Twitter somewhere, but it was talking about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson being on a talk show and him playing a character like he's in a movie, that he was describing The Rock as if it were that WWE is a movie and he's just playing a part, and he's not bad after all, that you can like him for being himself, but you may not like The Rock. And I'm like, wow, it's come to the point where they're not even trying with kayfabe anymore. They're just like, I realize what they do, and I applaud them for what any wrestler does, but you've taken the magic out of everything.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is one of those areas where Hollywood Dwayne Johnson's brand gets in the way of good wrestling storytelling.
Yeah.
And the fact that in order to protect what he's built outside of the WWE, he has to go on mainstream national media and tell all the people that don't regularly watch the product, have no real knowledge of how wrestling programs work, and basically pull the curtain back and go, hey, there's the wizard.
Yep.
You know, he's pulling all the chains and pressing all the buttons to make the things go and do this and do that. And, you know, that's one of the things I was afraid of whenever I found out that he was going to become a regular presence again. Dwayne Johnson is not someone that I ever cared for as a wrestler in the wrestling business. I've been vocal about this on here, online. Never liked the guy. Never got the appeal for him. I always thought that his promos and everything were quite juvenile, and he reached for the lowest hanging fruit. And once he found an apple that the crowd would cheer for, he kept grabbing that apple. You know, the Rock strudel and
But I mean, back in that time when it was, I don't even know what era they wanted to call it, if it was the Attitude Era or whatever. But I mean, they had all the DX stuff, the Rock, Stone Cold, and while I liked some of the wrestlers, it became eye rolling at times.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things of, okay, just let me step away from reality for a while and let me just enjoy some wrestling. But I mean, it's been posted like, oh, on SmackDown, it's a 2-hour show and minus all the commercials, it's an hour and 39 minutes. And then with the wrestling, there was only 27 minutes of wrestling. The rest was just talk and jibber jabber. And I'm like, well, yeah, but a lot of that is they're a week and a half away from WrestleMania. They're getting to set up something. They need to make sure that everybody is paying attention to what is going to happen at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't think I think they're possibly being safe in not having all the wrestlers go out there and wrestle, because what happens if somebody gets injured and they're in a big match? They have to switch stuff up. So they're shifting gears and they're putting it in low gear where they're telling stories and making those stories mean something once WrestleMania comes.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. And I mean, that's like having your first string quarterback injure himself on the day before the big game.
Yeah.
No, it's like if just take your time and make everything mean something, that tell the story. And I mean, it's one of these things. Enjoy what you enjoy, and if you don't enjoy it, move on to the next. I don't need to know all the behind the scenes stuff. I just want to enjoy what I enjoy. So if I don't like what they're doing on Raw, I may watch SmackDown. It's the same company, but it's a different product. It's different wrestlers. It's different storylines. They may intermingle here and there, but it's not as much for me to take in, and it doesn't take me out of what's happening. That 3 hours, hey, I'm 55 years old. That's a lot of time to invest in something.
Oh yeah, it is. And at the end of the day, to the 28 minutes, I believe that was the time that someone posted that they had of the wrestling. That was 28 minutes of good ring wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't bathroom break matches or concession stand runs or anything like that. Those were matches that you needed to sit down and watch, because they were just as important to the story that's being told leading up to WrestleMania as the talking segments and the backstage promos and all of that stuff. You know, the WrestleMania is WWE's Catalina wine mixer.
Yep.
You know, this is their nut for the year. This is every year Even though WrestleMania is successful every year, this sets the tone for how the rest of the year is going to play out for WWE. And if they don't nail it, the rest of the year reflects that. And we've seen that in the past.
Yeah.
What was it? WrestleMania 17 was the shit show?
I believe so.
And then the stories that came out of that was a horrible year for WWE after that terrible WrestleMania.
And it's one of these things of, while it may be a reset, it doesn't mean that all the storylines go away.
Right.
This is a story of, hey, if Rock turns on the Bloodline, or the Bloodline turns on Rock, what's going to happen? We don't know. Right now, we're looking at, does Cody finish the story? There's still a briefcase out there that does Seth possibly get injured in the first night and then the belt get taken away the second night? Who knows? There's a lot of stories that they can wrap up, but they can basically put spins on a couple stories and see which direction they want to go, north, south, east, or west. They just need to make sure that it makes sense coming out of what's happening at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Going back to the UWN though, we had some a backstage interview with Todd Neely and Zicky Dice, where Zicky Dice gave us some insight into how a young Nick Zappo became the Zicky Dice that we know today, and how he became so good in the wrestling ring. He said he's gold medal and Roman and Greco wrestling and Sambo, I believe it was, and how his dad just pushed him to be the best and everything. And again, another intriguing segment that's building a character that we're all familiar with already, but we're seeing a new facet of. And it again, I want to see where this goes and how they're going to take him, where they're going to take Zicky, because he's a former Heritage champion. He's former television champion. So Danny already has a huge target on his back, and now there's possibly Zicky has his sights set on him as well.
And let's see. Ziggy's one of those that I appreciate what he does, but seeing his run back in NWA, it just, I don't know. Either he's playing his character so well that I don't enjoy him not as a wrestler. He's a good wrestler. I just don't agree with the methods he uses.
Yeah.
And just his actions, like when he'd grab the belt and he'd lick it. And I'm just like, dude, that's just, to me, it's disturbing. But if that's what he's going for, it's one of those things that some people may look at it and go, okay, is it there's not really baby faces and heels anymore. It's however how a person or a wrestler, how their character appeals to you. So it's one of those things of, to me, Ziggy is doing a good job, but it's just, I think I enjoy him playing the character so much that I dislike him, that he's doing that good of a job. And it's not like, okay, if you look at Trevor Murdoch, love Trevor, love his character. He's not a baby face by any means, but it's not one of these things that you have to love a baby face and hate the heel. You can like whoever you like now. That there's blurred lines and it's not really a good bad thing anymore unless that's what they're actually going for.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that he's doing his job and playing his part. But I did enjoy the sit down that he had, and it explains what his character is and why he does the things he does.
Yeah. Mick Foley tells us the story of when Terry Funk got stabbed and Mick asked if he was going to press charges or anything. And Terry looked at him and just, well, God's sake, son, no. That's the greatest compliment I've ever been given. You know, whenever you are just completely disgusted by the person in the ring and their actions, they're doing their job.
Yep.
And I think that's a testament to Zicky and his definition of outlandish.
Yeah.
There's outlandish is exactly that. It knows no boundary. You know, it's just outlandish. And he embodies that. We had a great match between King Fat Boy, Paco Esco, and El Primo Henio Tribeca. And this was a size clash, a styles clash, ideology clash. It made for one hell of a match. What did you think about it?
I love seeing Papo anytime he wrestles, and I'm hoping that we get a clearer insight into what's happening with the bodega, because I mean, having Danny on the show, it was great, but I mean, he was just spitting fire, and it's one of these things that family's family, but family fights sometimes, and maybe it's time for them to go their separate ways. They can always meet up on the other side.
Yep.
But it's one of those things that no matter it be in wrestling or any other sport, that if you're working as a team, there's going to be standouts on that team.
Yeah.
Well, you got to stand up, stand out, or step out. So it's one of those that they have to decide what's best for themselves as a wrestler and as a team. And like I said, they can always meet on the other side and meet back up and team back up. But I was glad to see Papo in the ring this week, and looking forward to what happens with the bodega down the line.
And speaking of Papo, we got to see a little bit of what Danny was talking about last week when he sat down with us. Papo running around looking for Slice whenever they had a little backstage segment, and Papo just kind of cut it short and was like, "I got to go find Slice," and he was gone. As I don't know what's going on there, but it something's got to give with it. You know, people need to figure out their priorities, and it seems like the only one that knows what their priorities are at the moment is Danny, and is keeping that gold. And again, you know, touching on the interview that we had with him last week, that was roughly an hour of him just straight cutting promo.
Yep.
I mean, what other wrestler do you know that can sit down right now and just for an hour straight cut promo? Because he didn't. He answered our questions, but he was putting the entire UW. I felt, anyways, that he was putting the entire UWN and any locker room on notice. Anybody that wants to come after that, they're gonna have a hell of a time.
Yeah,
it's gonna be the fight of their life, and they're gonna know that they were in one, and they're more than likely, and they're gonna walk out empty-handed once it's all said and done. I don't even want to say more than likely, because it again, an hour's worth of promo, guys. that man he has a death grip on that title, and it ain't. I don't see him dropping it for at least another 400 days.
I mean, unless there's a drastic pivot that they need to make.
Yeah.
I mean, he can hold it and build up some other people around him, as well as him being a traveling champion. He was in Puerto Rico, defended the belt and retained. And it's one of these that Danny just believes in himself. And while it may be, okay, he's playing a character, that character's dialed up to 10.
Yeah.
He believes what he says, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep that belt. And that's the kind of wrestler I like. That is just no nonsense. Because you have to believe in yourself before anybody else can believe in you.
Yep. And he's completely invested in that, and he's got his eyes on all of his challengers, as we saw with the main event. We had the Mighty Zaddies faced off. My mind just went blank on who they went up against. Who did they face?
I don't even remember. Let me check online. I'm not.
They went up against Big Hoss and Rob McKnight.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Rob shit. That's right. And during that match, we had Danny Limelight was there at commentary ringside.
Yep.
And keeping a close eye on everything that Bad Dude Tito was doing. You know, and at one point they even had a little almost a little something happen, you know, there at ringside. But again, between the interviews, the backstage segments, and the matches, I said that the Buck Skinner match at the opening was my match of the week, but this was my wrestling program of the week.
Yeah.
They're nailing everything. They're building stories, they're building wrestlers, they're putting on great matches. The segments aren't pointless. They're leading to stuff that you're seeing, if not in the week that you're seeing that segment, it leads to something in the ring the next week.
Yeah.
Just firing on all cylinders, doing everything right. And that main event was the main event for a reason, because you had 4 talents in the ring that know what they're doing, are more than capable to get the job done and exceed all expectations. And that's exactly what they did for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a tag wrestler, Tito is great, but it's one of those things that almost every great tag team has a person that has to step out from being a tag team wrestler and do their own thing. He's also doing the New Japan, and he's also MLW. He's doing it the right way. He's still incorporating the tag team in championship wrestling while still making a story of going after the champion. And Daniel and Dave did a great job on this show in using Danny as an antagonist. Bring him out. He's not involved in the match, but he's there watching the match.
Yep.
It's basically rubbing salt into a wound. That you're just setting things in motion and keeping the story going while not having to be in the ring.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best things that you can do. And I wish the NWA would do that sometimes. EC3 as champion doesn't always have to just be out there wrestling or cutting a promo. Put him on commentary. If there's a possibility of an up-and-comer maybe being a contender down the line, have him out on commentary and ask him what he thinks of such and such wrestler. Make a story that it doesn't have to be a current story. It could be a story for down the line, but they had that little interaction of looking at each other as the match was done and they're both walking out. So it's one of those things of championship wrestling is keeping the story going, but it's not always about what's happening in the ring.
Exactly. And that was the championship wrestling for this week. As I say every week, if you're not watching UWN and all of its affiliated products, you probably like burnt toast too.
Ugh. Burnt toast. Ugh.
Yeah, it does not sound tasty. Now we're gonna switch gears and I for the 56 minutes that we've been talking, I've been dying to hear what you have to say about the NWA not showing up and showing out in Philly for the WrestleMania weekend, which from the beginning I've thought is a stupid idea that they don't show up there. You are the longest running wrestling promotion in the United States. You should definitely be there. You played smaller shows. What are you worried about? Turnout or something? That's where all the wrestling fans in the world are for one week.
I mean, they're going to be there. You have a decent price ticket. People will show up. If they like it, cool. That's more fans for you. If they don't, I'm sorry. That's when you have to put your best foot forward and leave all the bullshit to the side. Have banger matches and make people want to watch you.
Yeah.
It's one of these things of the actual question was, is NWA not officially being in Philly for WrestleMania 40 a mistake? I could say, yeah, it's a mistake. But the thing is, I'm not sure if in my eyes, I don't know if NWA is ready for that show in that location.
Okay.
At that time. Because wrestling is wrestling, but it's almost like, oh, I'm going to listen to the radio. Well, I'm 55. I still listen to the radio here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody younger may go, oh, I listen to, I have music on my phone. I stream stuff. Why are you listening to the radio? They have people talking over music and they have commercials. So it's one of those things of, I'm not sure why Billy isn't running a show, but Philly being big in ECW history, Billy loved ECW. But you also have August 27th, 1994. Do you know what that date is?
No.
That's back when ECW was Eastern Championship Wrestling.
You're right.
Douglas beat Too Cold Scorpio for the NWA 10 pounds of gold, then took the belt and threw it down and said, basically, screw you guys, I'm going home.
Yep.
ECW became Extreme Championship Wrestling in the following weeks. So I would have gone just there and I would have gone out of my way to pay Shane Douglas to show up and praise the NWA.
Oh, yeah.
Turn it on its head. Here, we're going to do this. Flip the script on it. But it's one of these things of, I looked online and the NWA is posting about what they're doing, but they also post what some of their talents are doing. But if it's not involving the NWA, they don't repost it. So you look at Colby Carino. He'll be wrestling both in Philly and in Williamstown, New Jersey, which is maybe 30 minutes outside of Philly. He has, I think, 4 matches in 6 days. So he'll be there. I mean, Wrecking Ball, he has 2 or 3 matches. Maxine Paler's going to be there. Matt Cardona, the Mortons are going to be there. May Valentine is even showing up. Rhett Titus, who was formerly in the NWA and ROH, he'll be there. There's not a lot of talent, and this would have been a chance for people that either carry belts or former belt holders to show up and be announced as, here's Trevor Murdoch, former NWA heavyweight champion. In my opinion, it's a mistake. Even if you as NWA aren't running a show, I'd push your talent to, hey, go there. Do what you need to do. Spread the word of the NWA. That nowadays, when they do posters, they'll slap whatever promotion you're based out of right under you or above you. So if you're on posters with NWA logo, like I said, if people enjoy what they see, they may watch your TV program. You get more eyes on you by being in a live match in front of all these wrestling fans. You may get new fans to follow you, follow the program. It's a win-win for both NWA, CW, but I don't know. I'm still torn on them not running an actual event. If I were in charge this year, it's too far gone. There's word of WrestleMania 41 taking place in Minneapolis. Now, if you know Minneapolis, you know how many wrestlers have come out of Minneapolis and the Minnesota area.
A literal who's who of the greatest of all time.
Most all of them either had AWA, NWA, WCW. They were maybe in the WWF back in the day, WWE, but they're known names. So if they're going to be in Minneapolis, while it was the AWA back in the day, the AWA, NWA, and who was it? World Championship, WC or WCCW. They all came together and did a super event. They did Super Clash 85.
Yep.
So why not do that? You have your territories and you have the NWA proper.
Yeah.
So if I myself were Billy Corgan, I'd have an actual NWA event at 41, and I'd do a super event. Have all your champions from your territory show up and from the NWA. So you're talking a good 10 to 12 championship matches on one card. So do the Super Clash, do whatever you need to do to make people take notice. That if you're not having pay-per-views for the next year, people, if they want to find you, they have to find the CW. There's not a lot being posted on YouTube, if anything. So you need to make people know where you're available and where your live events are going to be. And I'd make this a super event myself. Who knows what Billy's wanting to do? But even if you just make it an event every year wherever WrestleMania goes. Yeah. Don't be too proud to basically live off the scraps of where WrestleMania is and what the WWE is doing. Because I myself know about 10 people that are going to WrestleMania this year not to go to WrestleMania, if you know what I mean. They're just going to Philadelphia to see independent wrestling. They're going to watch WrestleMania. They're not going to the show itself.
Yeah.
But they go to see who the next up-and-comer is. They go to these WrestleCons to get signatures of their favorite wrestlers that, who knows, they may not be around in a year.
I've got a couple people that I follow that I follow online, and every year for WrestleMania they go to WrestleMania and they watch WrestleMania, but they watch WrestleMania in their hotel room with a couple of their friends.
Yep.
After they've spent the entire rest of the day beforehand going to indie shows and conventions and visiting merchandise booths and such, with it being WrestleMania weekend, the talents are already in town anyways, more than likely. Yeah. So you're not having to spend a whole lot of money on transport because they're already there any damn ways.
Yep.
You're just giving your talent another opportunity at a payday through you, a payday through having their merchandise available at your show.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting a potential payday if you book it right and you just let people know that, hey, we're going to be there. And you also can use that time that you're not doing anything with your stuff to scout potential new talent from the other people that are showing up there.
And I mean, if you think that WWE doesn't have talent scouts or former performers of theirs at these events, wrestling, but also watching. And I mean, if you give, I don't know, Steve Carino a call and go, hey,
yeah,
I saw so-and-so, I was watching your kid wrestle, I saw so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, you may want to give them a look for NXT, or at least bring them to the Performance Center the next go around.
Yep.
I mean, if that's the way things work now. So it's the more eyes that are upon anybody that's wrestling. I look at NWA as either a starting ground or a place to return to.
Yeah.
That you may start there, move up, or you may hit the top, and then once you're gone from there, you move down. But it's one of these things that no harm, no foul. I'd have NWA anywhere that there are events. I mean, when they have events in the Carolinas, when they have any old school NWA fan fests, have your wrestlers show up. Just because, I mean, there's people that still wear Michael Jordan gear, and Michael hasn't played basketball in how many years?
Right.
It's one of those things. I'm not saying the NWA is a Michael Jordan, but there's certain things that you enjoy about, whether it be a sports star, a movie star, you like certain things about them, and the way you support them is you watch their movies, you go to their games, you buy their products. The NWA has to try to do that. While they live on tradition, you have to make new fans that you can't survive on your old fans. That's the reason that NWA did their separation when they had all their territories. That when they were done with TNA decided to, okay, well, we got the rub from them. Let's try to build our own thing. It's been 20 some years, and Impact, TNA, whatever you want to call it, they've made a better product in my opinion. We'll see where they go since Scott ended up being canned. Hell, if you could either bring Scott into the NWA either as a partner, if he would start a a territory. I know he's from Canada.
That
So
would
you'd
be phenomenal.
You'd have that. If he chooses to do that, or he may know somebody that he trusts, have him be a liaison between all these companies.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things that you just there's so much that can be done, and I mean, we'll just see what happens after WrestleMania to see what happens with WWE, what happens with AEW, and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm just interested to see what storylines are told and what starts anew. So I mean, it's just one of these things that WCW or not WCW, NWA back in the day when they were WCW, they brought in so many people that you didn't know your left from your right.
Yeah.
Now with NWA having their territories, they can send some of the people that are being used on NWA once they've come to a peak in their storyline or they petered out, they can move on to a territory and rebuild them. They move somebody to a territory that gives you room on the main roster that you can bring in some others, whether they be enhancement talent or talent that you want to give a tryout to. That's what I'm looking at the territories for. And if they're smart, in my opinion, I do what I suggested, do that super event on WrestleMania weekend and just highlight all your champions. But it's one of those things. I don't hold the pencil, as they say. I'm not a booker. I'm just doing this fantasy wise, but I'm hoping somebody listens and somebody hears what we talk about, what other people that are interested in NWA or any of their territories. I'd love to see more people given a chance to succeed. And it doesn't always mean being a champion. Sometimes it just means, hey, I got to wrestle so-and-so. I lost, but I still wrestled the champion.
You know, and you got me thinking. And whenever you brought up the NWA showing up to all wrestling events, the NWA has 3 more chances before next WrestleMania where they could show up at major WrestleMania events. You've still got SummerSlam upcoming, then you've got Survivor Series, and then you've got the Royal Rumble. The WWE has turned the Big Four into major events that overtake the city that they're in for that week.
Yeah.
So if I was Billy, between now and SummerSlam, I would be doing what you suggested and working on getting a show put together. And then you use that show to build to the next big WWE event week show. And then you use that one to build to the next one. And in building of those, you're bringing in the territories that you built now.
Yep.
And then that all culminates together at the Super Show for next year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And in between those shows, you got your Joe Kazana Productions on YouTube. They can start building it up. You've got your CW spot where you can start building that up, and then you can have EC3 have him start building up in Exodus Pro and Brian Idol doing it in Chicago. You know, and there's definitely something there, and like I said at the beginning, since Billy bought the NWA and announced that no, we're not going to be showing up at WrestleMania during WrestleMania week, that's left me scratching my head for years now. Why not? What in your ego or pride makes you think that is a bad idea to bring your promotion there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jeremy, I don't know. I myself have never been to a WrestleMania, but I've been working in Philly on and off, setting stuff up, getting things ready for our property, and we're right by the stadium.
Yeah.
So we're going to have overflow. They're having midget wrestling. They're having all that kind of stuff. But it's one of these
micro
things.
Brawlers.
Yep, micro brawlers.
Yeah.
They're doing that. We're actually having Busted Open do a recording on our property. So it's one of these things of I'm like, okay, there's so many things that are involved, and if you like WrestleMania and WWE, that's cool.
Yeah.
But there's matches starting Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
Of that week. There's matches that start at 11:59 p.m. on the first and second night of WrestleMania. So once WrestleMania is done, there's wrestling. I mean, I'd say there's probably 30 to 40 hours of wrestling, if not 50 hours of wrestling, including podcasts and that kind of stuff. There's programming everywhere. I think I counted at least 25 events going on besides anything affiliated with WWE.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, ECW Arena has 1, 2, 3, 4. They have at least 7 or 8 events going on, whether it be wrestling, actual wrestling, or a WrestleCon.
Right.
Or just, hey, we're having a meetup here. Come join us.
My goodness.
And most of them you have to pay. I mean, Busted Open, they're going to be at 2,300 arena, and it's free. It's crazy. They'll fit 1,200 people in there.
My Lord.
It's just one of those things of take advantage.
Yep.
I mean, you're not going to grow your product unless you get eyes on your product.
Yeah.
And by any means necessary, get eyes on them. And I mean, I'd give any NWA talent, if I was running NWA, any talent that's going to be there, I'd give them a bump just to mention, hey, I'm so-and-so wrestler. I wrestle for the NWA. Catch us on CW. We're on the CW app. It's free.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things of they got to pick and choose what they want to do. But if I had any say in it, I'd be all over Minneapolis next year.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, Dave, I thank you for that segment as always. The brilliant mind of Dave Scooby, everyone. It's just great topic for this week. Really got my brain going on that. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us for this week, everyone. Thank you all for showing up. We had 29 people watching live. That number just seems to be growing every week. So I appreciate it, everyone. It does not go unnoticed. We pay attention to these things, so we appreciate it. You can find us over, we have our own little Twitter page, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. It's at TOAG live stream. You can follow us over there. And Dave Scooby, where can they find you at on the socials?
They can find me at Dave Scooby on Twitter, X, and Instagram, and over on TikTok. Every once in a while, I'll post something. It's Dave Scooby followed by the number 1.
All right. And you can find me over on X at HJWOTS. and on Threads and Blue Sky at Championship Wrestling from Jeremy. And the most important one to follow is the Alliance Wrestling at the Alliance blog, and that's on all the social media platforms. I think he's even still got an active MySpace page, but don't quote me on that. And then, as always, join us every Thursday, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, for the OGs, the originals, DKM, J-Cal, and the eagle-headed man, Jaden, of the Alliance Guys podcast. And then every Tuesday, the what used to be the hour before power, too sweet to be sour, but now it's just an hour of talking about power with J-Cal, and that can be found over on YouTube at the Alliance blog. And that is going to do it for us this week. Again, we appreciate you all for showing up and come and talking to us in the chat. Sorry we didn't get to much of the chat this week. We're learning this. As we're going. Tim was really good about that. I'm trying to be good about it. We'll do better next week. But until then, we thank you all for showing up, and we will see you at the matches.